Hey everyone, my name is Jessie. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing part 3 of your most underrated fantasy recommendations. So I asked you all on my community tab a couple days ago, what is one fantasy book or series that you wish more people would talk about? And I gathered up all of your fantastic answers to that question, and I'm going to present your recommendations here today. I love doing these. I love finding these more underrated fantasy recs from you all. So I will link the other 2 videos that I did in this same style down below. A lot of you had commented books that I had already mentioned in one of those previous videos. So if you don't see your recommendation that you commented here in this video, it might be in a previous one, or I might just not have had time to include it in this particular video, and I will continue to do these in the future and will hopefully have time to include it there. So thank you all so much for participating in that community tab. Before we get to the recommendations, I have an exciting announcement, and it has to do with the shirt I am wearing. So Elle from Elliott Brooks is in collaboration with a company called ThreadTank that does the softest, comfiest t-shirts, and they do all different styles of t-shirts, and they have the best book related t-shirts that I've seen. I love them so much. So Elliott Brooks was invited to collaborate with them and come up with her own designs to feature on their website. She came up with this adorable design that I was so kindly sent called Pages and Pets. I thought that this was very appropriate because I'm sure if you've been watching my videos for a while, you've seen my dogs in a couple of the videos that I've had in the past. They're always around, and I am a huge dog person, so I thought that this was such a cute design and I loved it so much. But she has one other design with an adorable dragon and a stack of books between the dragon. It's so cute. So if you are interested in getting one of her designs, I will link all of the information for ThreadTank down below and link her video where she announces these designs. I love them so much, and I'm so happy for her. And so thank you to Elle and to ThreadTank for including me in this and sending me this adorable shirt. I love it so much. So without further ado, let's get into the underrated fantasy recommendations. I have 10 for you all today, so I'm just going to get right into it. First one we have is the Ember Blade by Chris Wooding. So this one I've heard of before, and I don't remember who had mentioned it on their channel, but I know I found it from someone. So this is book 1 of the Darkwater Legacy. It was published in 2019, so fairly new release. It says it is a land under occupation, a legendary sword, a young man's journey to find his destiny. We got some fantasy buzzwords in there. I like it. Aaron has lived by the rules all his life. He's never questioned it. That's just the way things are. But then his father is executed for treason. Wow, that escalated quickly. And he and his best friend Cade are thrown into a prison mine, doomed to work until they drop, unless they can somehow break free. But what lies beyond the prison walls is more terrifying still. Rescued by a man who hates him, yet is oath-bound to protect him, pursued by inhuman forces, Aaron slowly accepts that everything he knew about his world was a lie. The rules are not there to protect him or his people, but to enslave them. A revolution is brewing, and Aaron is being drawn into it, whether he likes it or not. Oh my god, this sounds so good! I'm already hooked. That sounds like fun. It sounds like a really kind of classic fantasy adventure story, but maybe does some new things with it. So I think that sounds fantastic. This is definitely one I want to check out. And you know where I probably heard it was probably from Petrick's channel, because he rated this 5 stars. So did Caitlin from Kitty G's channel. So I will link both of their channels down below, because they have, I feel like, read every fantasy book that's ever been published. They're incredible. And they both rated it 5 stars. So hey, you got their glowing recommendation as well. The next book I have is actually a self-published book. It is called Voice of War by Zach Argyle. This is the first book in the Threadlight series. I believe book 2 is out as well. This was published in 2020, last year in October. This was actually, if you're interested in self-published books, this was one of the books of the month that we read together in the Shelf Published In Discord server. If you're interested, I'm going to link that server down below, where every month they do a different buddy read of a self-published book. And sometimes the authors are also in that Discord to kind of join in on the conversation, or are there to answer any questions that the readers may have. So if that sounds interesting to you, that Discord is down below. And I know that this was one of the books. I unfortunately did not have time to read it, but I've heard a lot of people really enjoy this one. So it says, while preparing for the birth of his first child, Chris Valerian is tasked with uncovering the group responsible for a series of missing thread weavers, those able to see and manipulate thread light. With each failure, the dark voice in his head grows louder, begging to be released. A young girl from a secret city in the center of the Feywild veers off course to explore the streets of Alchia. She never expected that her journey would end in chains. Far in the deserts to the south, a young man's life changes after he dies. So it follows 3 different perspectives. It sounds like they're kind of going to have their own stories, but maybe be brought together. And it also sounds like this world might have a really cool magic system revolving around this thing called threadlight. I love that stuff. So this sounds awesome, epic, high fantasy. I'll definitely link all the information for it down below if you want to check it out, because I think that this sounds fantastic. And it was one of the SPFBO award finalists for Best Fantasy Book in 2020. So that's pretty high praise as well. So you got to check it out. The next recommendation I have is The Stone Knife by Anna Stevens. This is the first book in the Songs of the Drowned series. So this says, a fantasy epic of freedom and empire, gods and monsters, love, loyalty, honor, and betrayal from the acclaimed author of Godblind. Wow, that had every buzzword in that little blurb. For generations, the forests of... Woo, that's a word. Nope, I'm not going to try that. I'll put it right here. Have echoed with the clash of weapons as nation after nation has fallen to the empire of songs and to the unending magical music that binds its people together. Now only 2 free tribes remain. That sounds really cool. The empire is not their only enemy. Monstrous scaled predators lurk in rivers and streams with a deadly music of their own. Wow, this is cool. As battle looms, fighters on both sides must decide how far they will go for their beliefs and for the ones they love. A veteran general seeks peace through war, a warrior and a shaman set out to understand their enemies, and an ambitious noble tries to bend ancient magic to her will. This sounds fantastic. I am really into that description. This was actually just published last November, so this is also a very new release, and that sounds really good. Look at that. Patrick also gave it 5 stars. Geez, Patrick, is there any book you haven't read? I would love to know. So yeah, you also have Patrick's stamp of approval if you do want to check that one out as well. All right, the next book I have is Blackstone Heart by Michael R. Fletcher, and this is the first book in the Obsidian Path series. So it says, a broken man, I don't know how to say that, I'm so sorry, awakens alone and lost. His stone heart has been shattered, littered across the world. With each piece, he regains some small shard of the man he once was. That's a cool concept. He follows the trail, fragment by fragment, remembering his terrible past. There was a woman. There was a sword. There was an end to sorrow. That guy walks the obsidian path. Ooh, that sounds fantastic. Also self-published. How exciting. And this was just published in 2020 as well. And it looks like it was also one of the finalists in the SPFBO awards. So that's really cool. Golly, Patrick, get out of here. He rated it 4.5 stars. So another glowing review from Patrick. And look at that, Caitlin right there beside him with 4 stars. So that's awesome. It has great reviews. So it sounds really cool. I really like that concept of the broken heart and following it to regain your past. That sounds awesome. Next, we have Rise of Gods. This is book 1 in the Paternus trilogy by Dirk Ashton. It says, described as American Gods meets The Avengers and Supernatural meets Lord of the Rings. What? Paternus combines myths from around the world in a modern story of action and intrigue that is urban fantasy on the surface, but so much more at its core. Even myths have legends, and not all legends are myth. Avengers meets American Gods and Supernatural meets The Lord of the Rings? How does that even work? I know marketing always kind of ties in those weird comparisons or weird crossovers, but like, I'm intrigued by that. Marketing's working for this book. I really want to read that now. This sounds really cool. And I've actually heard from Patrick. This whole video is just an advertisement for Patrick's channel. Go check out Patrick. But I actually have heard that this is a really good trilogy from him. So yeah, this was already on my radar, but now after reading that blurb, I'm very intrigued. The next book I have is Fool's Gold by John Hollins. This is book 1 in the Dragon Lords series. And I've heard that this is a more humorous series. So if you're looking for something a little more lighthearted in between all of those epic, dark fantasies, maybe this is going to be the one for you. It says, a brand new adventure fantasy. Imagine Guardians of the Galaxy planning a heist on Smaug's gold for fans looking for something with a modern twist and some humor. Guardians of the Galaxy meets The Hobbit. I mean, okay. I'll read it. That sounds good. And a 4.5 stars from Caitlin. It's either one of them. I don't see a Patrick review though. I found a book that Patrick hasn't read. Well, that sounds fantastic. So definitely want to add that to the list because what fun! Guardians of the Galaxy meets The Hobbit. I'm here for it. All right, the next book recommendation I have is The Innocent Mage by Karen Miller. It is book 1 in the Kingmaker, Kingbreaker series. So this one says it was published in 2007 by Orbit. It says, enter the kingdom of Lur, where to use magic unlawfully means death. The Doranen have ruled Lur with magic since arriving as refugees centuries ago. Theirs was a desperate flight to escape the wrath of a powerful mage who started a bitter war in their homeland. To keep Lur safe, the native Olkin inhabitants agreed to abandon their own magic. Magic is now forbidden to them, and any who break this law are executed. I love books where magic is kind of outlawed. I just read this in The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington, and I loved that part of the story. So already this sounds awesome because that trope is something I'm realizing I might really enjoy. So I definitely want to read this one now. After reading that particular synopsis. This one is only 2 books, it looks like, and it's a complete series. So that's good. If you're looking to only start complete series, which I wouldn't blame you if you were, this might be a good one to try. Great, 3 more. The next recommendation I have is Son of the Black Sword by Larry Correia. This is book 1 in the saga of the Forgotten Warrior. It says, after the War of the Gods, the demons were cast out and fell to the world. Mankind was nearly eradicated by the seemingly unstoppable beasts until the gods sent the great hero, Ramrowan. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. He united the tribes, gave them magic, and drove the demons into the sea. Ever since, the land has belonged to man, and the oceans have remained an uncrossable hell, leaving the continent of Lok isolated. It was prophesied that someday the demons would return, and only the descendants of Ramrowan would be able to defeat them. And all men served those who were their only hope for survival. Wow, this sounds really epic. This was first published in 2015. And it is a complete series as well. So this sounds really, really epic. It sounds like this is going to be more of a serious tone, but very high fantasy. I'm liking the sound of this. It definitely sounds really cool. The second to last recommendation I have is Perdido Street Station by China Maville. This is book 1 in the New Crobuzone series. Yep. This one says it has a steampunk subgenre, and I am always on the hunt for like really good steampunk fantasy. I feel like there's not a lot of really mainstream popular steampunk series out there. So if there's ever a good steampunk book, give me that recommendation, because I like the idea of steampunk. I just haven't found a series that is like the quintessential steampunk fantasy that I love. So let me know. But this one sounds like it's one of them, so I might have to bump this up on the priority list. Beneath the towering bleached ribs of a dead ancient beast lies the city of New Crobazone, where the unsavory deal is stranger to no one, not even to Isaac, a gifted and eccentric scientist who has spent a lifetime quietly carrying out his unique research. But when half-bird, half-human creature known as the Garuda comes to him from afar, Isaac is faced with challenges he has never before encountered. Though the Garuda's request is scientifically daunting, Isaac is sparked by his own curiosity and an uncanny reverence for this curious stranger. Soon an eerie metamorphosis will occur that will permeate every fiber of New Crobazone, and not even the ambassador of hell will challenge the malignant terror it evokes. Wow. That's quite the synopsis. So this was originally published in 2000, so it is a little bit older, and it does look like it's complete. So, wow, that sounds pretty cool. Definitely need to bump up that one on the priority list. Last recommendation I have comes from Alan from the Library of Alexandria. Alan, I know that you just really enjoyed this book. It is Empire in Black and Gold by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and it is book 1 in the Shadows of the Apt series. I did not know anything about this, so thank you, Alan, for the recommendation. It says the city-states of the lowlands have lived in peace for decades, bastions of civilization, prosperity, and sophistication, protected by treaties, trade, and a belief in the reasonable nature of their neighbors. But meanwhile, in far-off corners, the Wasp Empire has been devouring city after city with its highly trained armies, its machines, its killing art, and now its hunger for conquest and war has become insatiable. Okay, this sounds really like political. It also has a steampunk subgenre, and I'm wondering if Alan thinks that this is a good steampunk representation, because again, I'm looking for the steampunk recommendations, so definitely want to read this one. I trust Alan's recommendations. He and I tend to have similar tastes in books, so anything he likes, I like to add to my TBR and try it. Definitely want to read this one, Alan. Thank you for the recommendation. So those were the 10 underrated fantasy recommendations I had for you. Did you see any that you've read before, and what did you think of them? And then do you have any other underrated fantasy recs? Definitely leave those comments down below for the rest of us to check out. We're always looking for more fantasy recommendations, even though our TBRs are never ending already. We're just going to keep adding to it. It's fine. It's all good. So thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye!